everyone. I hope you're well. I'm super excited today because I'm going to meet somebody that I don't know, but I'm a huge fan. He's got the most beautiful singing voice, amazing. And he's a fabulous actor, and he's been on stage and on screen, and you'll all know him because he's absolutely gorgeous and very talented. It is the amazing Luke Evans. Hello, Luke. It's so lovely to meet you. I can't believe this. Good old Amy.
It's lovely to meet you too. How you doing, Twiggy?
I'm good. I'm just, when I said good old Amy, I'm just explaining to the listeners that the reason you're very sweetly coming onto my podcast is that we've got a mutual friend, Amy Wadge.
We do, yeah, and she is a very lovely person. She's a songwriter, for anybody that doesn't know, and I've worked with her on my second album.
I say, hasn't she done a couple of songs with you?
Yeah, we wrote during lockdown. I was in Florida and she was in South Wales, and we connect on Zoom and do like a 3-hour songwriting session, like once a week, every week during lockdown. And the 2 songs on the album are two songs which we wrote back in the first lockdown back in 2020.
But can you write a song kind of on Zoom? What she was in her, because I've been to her lovely house in Wales. She very sweetly I went down for the weekend, and because we're working on something together, and she's got a studio there. So she was in her studio, and
yes. So they have it all set up. Basically, it was a learning curve for me. So basically, to do what we did, I had to have my laptop, which obviously I had, and then I had to order a microphone and a little mixing system, and then we had to download some technology which helped her and her colleague to take over my computer and my mixing desk.
Oh my God.
And then they could record while I recorded on a microphone. I mean, I couldn't have done it on my own, but they managed to do the whole thing. And we recorded demos from, 2 different sides of the Atlantic.
That is amazing. I mean, I did an album about 10 years ago of kind of mainly period songs because I love the 30s and 40s. And then I put in a couple because it was meant to be romantic songs. And there's a wonderful singer-songwriter called Richard Marx. Do you know Richard? And I'd met him through another mutual friend of yours and mine, because I've seen you sing with him, is Hugh Jackman.
Oh,
and
wow.
He's a great, great friend of Richard's, and we met through him. Anyway, I wanted to do one of Richard's songs and sing it with him. And we did like that. We did it. I did my bit here. He lived at that point in Chicago. And through I mean, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is incredible, Of course, everybody has these big recording studios and everything, but actually, you can do it with a very minimal amount of technology. You just need to know what you're doing. And I learned an awful lot by working with Amy on that process. And of course, we were all trying to find things to do, weren't we, during lockdown?
I say, how did you cope during lockdown?
Well, I actually was very lucky. I escaped the UK to Florida, where I spent, I think it was like 2.5 months, and I just made the most of it. We were near the ocean, which was nice, and we had a beach which was empty, and so my days were just walking the beach, finding shells, singing, writing music.
So actually quite nice.
It was actually lovely. I mean, I was away from my family, and I was always worried about them because obviously it was much more strict.
Do you live in Florida? Or
no, I live in London.
Oh, you live in London? Okay.
Yeah, between London and Spain and Portugal.
Oh, lovely. Oh,
yeah. When I'm not working, which is a lot of the time.
Do you ever stop working? When I check, I mean, I knew lots of things you'd done because I love your work, but I do my research, and I was absolutely you've never stopped working really since like 2010.
Not since it started. Yeah. I mean, and before that I was in theatre, so I was working then as well. But, when you get success a little later in life, every opportunity that comes and is right for you, you grasp it with both hands and try and appreciate every beat of the journey, you know. And so for me, that's how it's been for the last 15 years, I think now. I can't believe it's been 15 years.
But you say later in life, you were still quite, you were in your 20s,
well, yeah,
weren't you?
I was in my late 20s, yeah. I did my first movie when I was 29. It came out when I was 30 years old. I'm 43 now. I'm 44 next month. So.
Oh, you poor old thing.
Oh, yeah.
You're the same age as my daughter, actually.
Oh, am I?
Yeah,
Oh,
actually,
cool.
she's a year older than you. But it's, you know, you haven't stopped working. I mean, it's amazing. So you started in, am I right? You started in theatre?
I started in musical theatre, yeah, in 2000. I left college at, I was 20 years old. And I did my first musical in the West End called La Cava, and then did a few other big musicals. I did a tour of Miss Saigon, Avenue Q, Rent Remixed, which is the Rent musical, Piaf I did, Pam Gem's Piaf, and I did some, I loved it. It was wonderful. It was really exciting. And then I did a play at the Donmar Warehouse, which sort of changed everything for me. And that's when, you know, I was sort of noticed by agents from America and managers. And within a year, I was in my first movie, and
amazing.
It hasn't really stopped since.
So what was the first one you did? Because you've done so many.
I like to say that it's Clash of the Titans, which it sort of was. But at the same time as I was shooting Clash of the Titans, I was doing Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll with Andy Serkis. All at the same time. I was just jumping between them. I only had small roles, so I was able to do that.
Oh,
really.
okay.
And then that was all in the first half of the first year. And then the last half of the year, I did Tamara Drew and Blitz, which was a film with Paddy Considine and Jason Statham. And then Tamara Drew was the finish of the year in Dorset, working with the lovely Gemma Arterton and Dominic Cooper, with Stephen Frears directing, which was
how fat. I mean, did you have to kind of pinch yourself? Because it must have been such a change from, I mean, obviously you were working on stage and doing that, but suddenly to get thrown into that.
Yeah, but I think, you know, because I wasn't, you know, like a 20-year-old, I sort of had lived. I sort of had spent decades, you know, working hard, and it wasn't always brilliant in musical theatre. I was often not working, and I did lots of other jobs and struggled to pay my rent, and did any job really I could find in between working on the stage. And it was just, I was ready for it. And I'm very adaptable. I can adapt to a lot of things. And if you look at the work I've done, you know, I don't stick to one genre or one kind of character. I'm like all over the place. And I love the challenge of that. I also love the challenge of making an audience accept you as different people, you know, because that's a real challenge. You can't just, you know, put on a mask. You've got to really disappear, you know, in the character. And I love that part of what I do for a living. It's very, very special.
But also, don't you, I mean, I haven't done half as much as you've done in the theatre or on film, but there's something about theatre, that live audience thing, that you don't actually get on film or on TV.
Not at all.
I mean, it's really scary. I mean, when I did my first, I didn't plan to go on stage. I didn't plan to do any of the things that happened to me, but and suddenly I was offered this, you know, leading role on Broadway, and with a friend of mine, Tommy Tune, who's one of the big musical stars of that era, best tap dancer around, and I remember him. I said to him, I can't do that, Tommy. And he said, there's no such word as can't. Pack your bags and get on a plane. And
wow.
And it was the scariest experience of my life and the best experience of my life, because luckily they liked the show and we ran for 18 months. And once I got over the fear...
And then, you know, once the fear is gone, it's the doing the same thing every night for 18 months. That's also something people don't think about, is that, you know, you've got to make it look like it's the first time every night.
And the discipline is huge, isn't it?
Huge. It's huge. And that is the big challenge. And the longer you're in a show, I mean, 18 months, I don't think I've ever done a show for 18 months, actually. It's a long time.
But on the other hand, I had a child. And I wasn't with the partner that I had her with. So you know, in a way it was quite nice because I was in one place in New York.
Lovely.
I could be with her on most days except matinee days. She was like 4, 5, something like that. So in a way, if you know, that was nice for me because I wasn't flying all over the world and, you know, I was with her and doing my show at night. And
well, you've done something I haven't done. You've done Broadway, and I've never done that.
You will.
I hope so. One day.
Will. Oh, yeah, you will. I have absolutely no doubt at all. If I was a producer, I'd find something. No, find something you want to do on Broadway. You'd get somebody to do it.
Yeah. No, Well, I'm always looking. I think it is about time I went back to the stage, to the theatre. It's been almost 16 years now since I was on stage.
Has it? Well, because of the films.
A long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got to. But also you must do something, you know, musical because your voice is unbelievable. Now, you were obviously born with that voice. Did you train?
I was born with some kind of voice that people wanted to listen to. But that's true. Yeah. I had that on my side. But I didn't have my first singing lesson until I was 16. So up until that point, I just used to sing, and you know that was it. That was it. It was never looked at as something I would do seriously or as a profession. And then when I was 16, I left school and got a job and started paying for my own singing lessons. And that was the first time, you know, somebody who did it for a living told me, "You've got a voice. You can sing." And we're gonna, you know, I'm gonna put you up for competitions and Eisteddfods, which is these Welsh talent competitions. They're very big, and brilliant. I did lots of them and won them all. It was crazy. I mean, won the most promising voice in Wales and all these wonderful things. I'd never been good at anything really before that, and all of a sudden I was winning trophies and So
when you said you always sang and you knew you could sing, but did you know that you had this amazing voice? You obviously probably didn't as a teenager, right?
No, I don't think I did. I mean, I probably had more of a developed voice than most kids around me because my taste in music would span my dad. So my dad and my mum were quite young when they had me, but obviously they were still in their record buying phases. And so my dad had all the little 45s. And so as I was growing up, I'd be listening to everything, like from the Drifters to Petula Clark, to Cliff Richard, to Elton John, George Michael, the Beatles, David Bowie, Bay City Rollers, Mark Bolan. I mean, it was like, so I was listening to all this kind of music. And then I found my own taste in music when I got my first CD player when I was like 12 years old, I think. And one of the CDs I got was by Roberta Flack. And listening to Roberta's voice and the way she sings and her technique, her vibrato and all the things that I could listen to, and I listened to it over and over and over again. I learned how to sing with emotion. And I think I probably developed through just listening to, you know, brilliant singers.
Well, I have to say your version of, I'll tell you a story. Your version of the first time ever I saw your face it's unbelievable. If anyone out there hasn't heard it, go online now. It's bloody brilliant. It's brilliant. Actually, I tell you, we live mainly in London. My husband Lee's an actor, producer, mainly retired in that area now, and he's writing. But I was in London, I think, and he was in Sussex. We got a little place down there. And he rang me and he said, get your computer. He said, I found this man with the most beautiful voice. And he's singing the first time ever I saw your face, and you've got to listen. And he made me go and get my iPad. And I mean, it makes me laugh now. Because I hadn't seen that. I mean, I knew you from the Pembrokeshire Murders. Which was brilliant. Wasn't that good?
Very, very well,
that was true, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a true story. Yeah. And that was, we literally wrapped that in Cardiff the day before all productions came to a standstill. And that night I flew to Florida. Like I left the set.
So you just got out, really?
I took the last flight to Miami. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It was all a very, very strange time, but we finished the project. And so, you know, during the pandemic, it came out. And so it was
Well, that's when we watched it, when it came out on TV. Yeah. And I mean, I thought it was absolutely brilliant and chilling.
It was very chilling. And to think all of that happened in such a beautiful part of the country, you know, on the Pembrokeshire coastline. But yeah, no, it was, and I also got to meet the guy who played me as well, which is very interesting.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, he was
that
there
weird?
with us quite often. No, he was such a lovely man, Steve Wilkins. And we got on very well, and he guided me through, you know, how you'd interview somebody and all of that kind of stuff. Because you were the
policeman, right? So I
was the detective that discovered it. Yeah.
Retired by then, or not?
Yes, he was retired. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, yes, he's retired. Yeah, lovely man, and he would come to set and just hang around, and we'd have lunch together and have a coffee, and we'd talk about certain things I had questions about, and he was very generous, very kind, and we've stayed in touch, which is quite sweet. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Have you got your cup of tea, by the way? What are you drinking?
I've got
what you got?
I'll drink any tea. I love tea. But
do.
Today I'm drinking green tea. I like green tea a lot.
Oh, I got lemon and ginger.
Don't mind a lemon and ginger. But yeah, I like green tea because it's antioxidant. It's got caffeine in it, and it's very good.
Yeah, my husband drinks that. It's a bit bitter for me, but he loves it.
And I like a good old cuppa too. I mean, I do travel with PG Tips wherever I am. I mean,
well, you have to.
We had PG Tips in the Colombian jungle.
You have to take your tea to America because their tea is horrible. And
it's not great.
They can't make a cup of tea in America. It always makes me laugh if you're.
I don't know whether it's the water, the tea, or the milk.
Well, what they do, they don't boil the water. They get hot, water that's boiled that's hot, and then they bring it in a cup with a tea bag on the side, and so it's gone over by.
But are you a milk after the tea is?
Yes.
After the tea bag is steeped? Yes.
Although
sacrilegious to put the milk in before the tea bag has done its
except
thing.
My mum and dad, I grew up in the 1950s, into the early 60s, and my mum and dad would never have put milk in our. My dad wouldn't drink cold beer.
He wouldn't drink cold beer.
No,
isn't that funny?
Bloody freezer, not drinking. He was from Bolton. I can't do a Lancashire accent, but he thought it was sacrilegious to have cold beer.
How funny. Well, no, my granddad, he doesn't drink anymore, but when he did, when I was younger, it would be like that bitter, and it would be room temperature and lethal.
Yeah. Well, that
and absolutely rancid.
My dad grew up in the 20s and 30s. So, I mean, people didn't have refrigerators. I'm sure that's why the drinks were always warm.
Yeah,
so that's what they knew. Yeah, but my dad swore that if you made beer cold, it ruins the flavour. Not being a beer drinker myself, I don't know.
Oh, I couldn't. I can't drink water if it's room temperature. I struggle with anything that's not. If it's tea, it should be hot, and if it's beer or white wine or water, it needs to be cold.
Cold.
Yeah.
So you were born in
Pontypool is where I was born, but I was only born in Pontypool because that's where the hospital was.
Oh, okay. So where did you grow up?
I first grew up in a little village for the first 4 years of my life in a place called Crumlin, which had a very big viaduct across the valley, and famously had a movie by Gregory Peck and Sophia Loren, and they used the valley, and the helicopter went under the viaduct. It was all a big thing. And then we moved to a village called Aberbargoed.
And is that South Wales?
South Wales, in the valleys, the Rumney Valley, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I lived opposite my school, which was good and bad.
And did your were your mum and dad in the business of any kind?
No, nothing. No, my mum was a cleaner and a housewife and a mother, and my dad is a bricklayer, and that's it. Just the three of us.
Have you ever done any of those DNA programs or had your DNA done?
No. I'm a little worried they wouldn't find anything.
No, it's quite interesting to see if there's somebody down the line who sang or performed, or because obviously it's in you.
It is, but none of my family. Also, different times and different ages, people singing was just something you may have just thought, well, that's not for us. We're working class folk. We'll just get on and do a job or get a trade,
Yeah, well, my dad was like that. He grew up in Lancashire, in Bolton, in the 20s, whatever it was, and he had to go to work. He was a really good musician, and he really wanted to have he could play saxophone, and he couldn't afford to buy his own. He had 4 sisters. His mum died, so he was the only boy. He had to go to work, so he trained as a carpenter, and that's what he did all his life. He was a master carpenter, but he could always play. He was self-taught piano. It breaks my heart. I mean, they're not with us anymore. It breaks my heart really, because he always wanted to teach me piano, and I'd say, "Oh no, I want to go and play. I don't want to do that." And I really, really regret it, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I do sometimes when I think my dad would have loved it if I'd have become a bricklayer, but I think he's quite happy where I am now.
I'm sure he's
he comes down to the house sometimes, and I've got something that isn't working, and it doesn't matter what it is. He's one of these people that can just look at a problem and find a way to solve it, even if he knows nothing about it. He's extraordinary. My mum is very, very similar. The two of them, they're so fascinating to watch. They've managed to get through life, not with great academic qualifications, but just a way of looking at something with a lot of common sense and going, how do we fix this? And there's nothing, I can't throw anything at my father that he can't fix. It's
That's
extraordinary.
Brilliant. I want to meet him.
Oh, he's brilliant. I was told him, like, you should charge. He should charge.
Yeah, absolutely. Lee always says if he can't, anything he tries to put up, it just falls down. If he puts a shelf up, it falls down. We've got another mutual friend I'm going to throw at you, Bobby Cannavale.
Oh, how do you know Bobby?
Oh, I love Bobby.
He's a fantastic human being.
Isn't he? He makes me laugh more than, we've had nights with Bobby where I can't breathe because he's really funny.
Yeah,
he had his first, I think it was his first acting job with my husband Lee. In a Noel Coward play that they did in a lovely theatre on Long Island called Bay Street in Sag Harbor.
Wow.
Sweet little fringe theatre. It's gorgeous, right on the bay. And Bobby, I think it was his first job, and I think he had 3 lines. And Lee became my husband became like his surrogate dad, because he'd either fallen out with his dad or whatever.
Right.
And so we've always been friends, and every time he comes to London, obviously.
Oh yeah, he's lovely. We had such a wonderful time on that job in Australia. We all felt very lucky to be working and be in Australia, where obviously the borders were closed, and we were able to be in that country and work and be so far away from all the drama, because it felt like a little haven out there in Australia. And we were in this beautiful part of Byron Bay. And, the group of people that we were with were just so lovely. And
it was extraordinary. I watched it. It was brilliant. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was very fun to do.
I love the writer. Leanne Moriarty, am I right?
Yes.
She wrote Big Little Lies.
She did, yeah.
She's a brilliant writer. But and I haven't read Nine Perfect Strangers, but I did watch it. But
it's a little different. The book, I think the book goes through chapters of people. I think it's very different. Okay. Yeah, it's all very different. And I think there's a few chapters where there's complete silence, like no one talks to each other.
Oh, wow.
So there's like this. So it's they adapted obviously for television. Be a bit dull if nobody speaks for an hour, but.
Slightly.
But I think the essence of the book definitely came onto the screen.
So you shot that when COVID was happening in the rest of the world?
Yeah, in 2020, the end of 2020.
Because Australia got out quite lightly until later, right? Didn't
they
get Melbourne got hit a bit later
Melbourne
or something?
had a very, very long, they were in and out of lockdown. They kept locking them back up, opening them, and it was... And also there was crossing of borders was not allowed. So there was people that lived just over borders, and they were really, that was a real problem, the state borders and stuff. Yeah, it was, it was a little, I don't think they were ready for it. I think it came a bit of a shock to them when it finally landed, and, but yeah, the poor Melbourne people, they really, I think they suffered the most out of everybody.
I wonder why it hit Melbourne more than anywhere else.
There's a couple of stories as to how it got around. Oh yeah, Yeah, yeah. You should check them out.
I'll check them out.
Yeah.
But don't you do one of your songs with Nicole Kidman on your album?
I do, and that's why she's on the album, is because I met her during the show. And
she's got a beautiful voice.
Beautiful.
Well, she sang in Moulin Rouge, didn't she?
She did, yeah. And she sang that song with Robbie Williams as well.
That's right.
She did.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Something Beautiful, or whatever that song is called. But yeah, I mean, I asked her just sort of like, what have I got to lose? And she's so lovely. She is such a nice person, a kind person.
I've met her very, very briefly with Hugh Jackman, who is a close friend. But it was literally at a kind of party with lots of people, and we just said hello and everything. But I don't really know her. I love her. I'm a huge fan.
And she's just so kind, and she's just real, and she's a loyal person. She has integrity, you know. But I thought, you know what, she can say no, and I was expecting her to say no. And she said yes, and I was like, "Oh God, wow!
I've got to do it now.
I can't. This is going to happen." And so, yeah. But I already knew what song I was going to propose, and yeah, I think she enjoyed the process. You know,
it's a gorgeous album, by the way. I love it.
Thank you.
Because it came out just before Christmas, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, did very well. Did really, really well. Dropped
it will
at number 4 in the
continue to
charts,
do well, I'm sure. Yeah, I know. Absolutely.
Couldn't believe that. Yeah.
The search is heating up for the people who make football better. People like Sally Butler.
It really is about putting mums on the pitch where they belong.
Jimmy the Mower.
It might only be a council field next to the tip, but round here it's Wembley.
Rachel O'Sullivan and Sophie Downing.
Bringing women's football to a wider audience.
Entries are rolling in. Who's your real football number one? Nominate them today and they could win a money can't buy experience with Sky Bet prize drop. Sky Bet, the UK's #1 betting app.
I've just sold my car.
All right.
I got a quote in 30 seconds from We Buy Any Car. Drove to my local branch in 13 minutes, and cash is getting sent to my bank.
Oh, nice.
Just sold my car to We Buy Any Car. Just sold my car to We Buy Any Car.
To find out how much your car's worth in 30 seconds, enter your reg number now at WeBuyAnyCar.com. Admin fee may apply. For more information, visit WeBuyAnyCar.com/info.
Do you have any non-kind of performing hobbies like cooking, reading? I don't know, things.
I like traveling. I travel a lot. So I've had I finished work just before Christmas on the 22nd of December, and I've had a break since then, which has been I've enforced it because I needed a break. I'd worked so solidly, and I just feel a bit tired, you know. So we've done a lot of traveling. We've been to, we've been to so many places. We've been in Namibia, went to Rome, St. Bart's, Miami, Spain, Madrid, Lisbon, London, Wales.
Wow.
We did
Oh my God.
We travel around. Because, you know, and people are like, you're going on holidays again? I'm like, well, actually, you know, when I work, my life stops. I don't get to sleep in my own bed, see my friends and family. I don't live at home. I live in a rented accommodation or a hotel room, and I don't live my life, you know, and that's fine. So, but when I do have my life back, I just pack it full of everything that I can do. So, you know, some people spread their holidays out over the year. I just do them when I get the time to do them, and then I'm off. So,
when you say Namibia, was that is that safari time? Or
yeah, it was safari.
I don't know where is that above?
It's above South Africa, and it's on the west coast.
West coast, yeah. Because actually, when you fly down to Cape Town, I think you fly over it, don't you?
I mean, it's very dramatic. Like, you know, it's one of the only places in the world. There's only a couple of places in the world where the sand dunes meet the ocean.
Oh wow!
And it's the most surreal thing to see. With your own eyes. It really is a spectacularly beautiful, naturally beautiful place. So we spent half of the week in the savannah, so very green, very luscious, all the animals, doing safaris and sleeping with the roaring lions in the background, which was really extraordinary.
Is that scary?
No. They were in a reserve.
I mean, you're
which was
protected, yeah?
We were on a mountain in a reserve, but it had all sort of like non-dangerous animals like giraffes and elephants and zebras and oryx and ostrich, and there was baboons, but they sort of stick to themselves. And then about a mile away was the entrance to the big reserve, which is like 200 square kilometers, where there was more elephants, 2 prides of lions, hyenas, and all these other animals. But at night, they come alive, so they sleep all day, and then when the sun goes down, they wake up, and then they're roaring, and if the wind caught them roaring, like 3 a.m, you're sleeping, and the you'd hear them roar. It was just, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was
bizarre.
Such an experience. And
no, I've never done a safari. We flew. We went to just outside of Johannesburg working, and then
was it the Kruger National Park?
I can't remember. They offered it. We went up in a hot air balloon.
Over
the. Wow. I was a bit nervous, and my daughter was. How old was she? She was just coming up to 15 because she came with us. And I wasn't sure I wanted to go. And she said, "Oh, mum, come on, we got to go." So yeah, mum did it. And it was magical. You have to get up at like
super early,
before
right?
dawn.
Yeah.
So that as dawn breaks, you go up. It was unbelievable. And what's lovely is because you're quite high and it's silent, the animals don't know you're there.
No.
But you don't get ever so close to them because you're above them. But we didn't see elephants. We saw lots of animals, but...
Well, we got very, very close to the animals.
You?
Oh, just at one point, too close for my liking.
To the lions?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we could have, we were within 10 feet of a pride of lions sleeping under and you're in a truck that doesn't have any windows or doors. But they said the lions look at the truck as one thing. If you put your arm out or your head out,
they'll get you.
They'll get you. It's the weirdest thing.
It's like when, you say Florida, you can go out into the Everglades in those kind of...
alligators everywhere.
Oh my God.
Oh, the hover things, right?
Yeah,
with the
those
fans on
hover,
the back.
they hover, they're like boats that hover over the water, aren't they? And the water's quite shallow, actually.
Very shallow,
and we decided to go out, me and Lee, and I'm chatting away to the guy, and he said alligators can jump.
Oh God, they'd love to do that.
Oh my God! And so I was on a lower seat, and I climbed up to the highest seat, and I tucked my legs under my and I was scared. They're big.
You did it though. They are big.
They are big. Because I thought they moved quite slowly, but apparently
they can move.
They can move.
Yeah,
but then when we did find one, he was an old one apparently that the guy knew, and he was feeding him marshmallows, which I'm not sure how healthy that was. It was a bit weird.
Well, yeah. I'm hoping his teeth would fall out from the sugar, probably.
Do you cook?
Yeah, I do. I like cooking very much. I I don't do it all the time, but I had some friends over a couple of weeks ago and I did beef Wellington, and I literally followed the ingredient, the recipe step by step, and it turned out perfect. I couldn't believe it.
Beef that's rolled in a pastry, right?
Yeah, it's fillet, and then you have to chop up mushrooms and saute them, and then put them with mustard over the beef, and then roll them in with the pastry, and then but the beef has to be par cooked before you put it into the pastry.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it turned out like it looked like picture perfect. I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Well, I hope you took pictures of it just for yourself.
It's everywhere. Put it on the Instagram. Put it everywhere. Yeah. The cookery book's coming out next year.
I hope so. Before we'll have to wrap soon because I know you've got to go. But I've got to ask you about Gaston because I've got a nearly 8-year-old granddaughter.
Right.
And so she knows, about Gaston and Beauty and the Beast. So I have to ask you, that must have been so much fun.
It was. I don't think I really understood when they offered me the job, the joy that I was going to experience making it, and then the joy that I've seen that the film has given to other people, and it's universal. It doesn't matter where I am in the world.
Absolutely.
if you're lucky enough as an actor to play a role that resonates on such a high platform as that, you know, you live with that character for the rest of your life. And,
of course,
you know, I'm sure some people go, oh God, they still think of me as this character. But you know what? I'm fine with it. I'm so lucky to have been firstly part of that incredible film, but to play that character, and people literally, I was skiing the other week and I left, we just had a cold glass of beer and we were going to ski down the hill. And as I left put my skis on, 5 men jumped up and went, "Ski well, Gaston." And you're like, oh my God. Like, and they were grown men. They were grown men,
yeah,
you know. So it's a lovely thing.
Oh,
and,
it's lovely.
And, you know,
and
I got to sing and do everything.
Was it on Jonathan Ross that you and Hugh Jackman?
With Hugh, yeah.
He made you sing it or something. I
He
remember
did.
that.
Me, Taron Egerton, and Hugh Jackman.
Taron Egerton,
yeah.
that's right. And you had glasses of beer.
Yes, we did.
That
yeah.
was that rehearsed or not?
No.
Oh.
We just got up and did
Judging
it.
by yours and Hugh's face, I didn't think it was rehearsed because you looked shocked when Jonathan said.
Yeah, well, also we were
So
still reading
fun.
from the script. Clearly, both of us had forgotten what the lyrics were. Yeah. A lovely man, though. He's a very lovely man, Hugh. As is Jonathan Ross. Very lovely.
Yeah. I mean, I've done the show. I don't know Jonathan as a friend, but Hugh is. He's an extraordinary man. But again, he's an Aussie. You see, Aussies are lovely.
They are. I really enjoyed my time in Australia.
Yeah,
I
it's an
like the
amazing
Aussies. They
country.
don't really. Once they're over the fact that whatever you are, they don't care. Everybody's the same.
Exactly.
There's no hierarchy. There's no class system. You are who you are, and you know. Let's have a beer.
It's like Bobby Cannavale's wife, Rose. I'm sure you've met. She's Aussie. I love her.
She's wonderful.
She's so
yeah.
sweet.
Yeah. Very, very sweet
there's
woman.
no kind of, there's no, I don't know. They're just out there and they are what they are. And,
Yeah.
and they're just very, very nice friendship material as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm glad they found each other because they make a great family. And the kids, they're so much fun. We used to go hiking with Bobby and Rose. We used to go to waterfalls with the kids on the weekend.
They must be getting big now, actually.
They must be, yeah. My God, I bet I wouldn't even recognize them.
Because they were here just pre-COVID, I think. And we saw them then. So the kids are 3-4 years older now. So unbelievable. So you said you've been on quite a long break. Have you got any secret plans that we can know about?
Well, my work will begin probably in May. I have 2 projects ready to go, and another project that will possibly take me all the way through to Christmas.
Oh,
so I've just enjoyed the time off, and probably in the next couple of weeks I'll start picking up the scripts and start doing my work and research and enjoy that process.
Are they musical projects or dramatic?
No, they're dramatic. Yes. Yeah.
Good.
I can be very dramatic when I want to. Very dramatic.
Oh, I bet your mum. Do you see your mum very often? She must be so proud of you.
Oh, we're solid. We're just the 3 of us. You know, we've always been very, very close. And I'm seeing them tomorrow. Actually, they're coming up to go to the Ideal Home exhibition.
Oh,
show.
where is that now? Because
It's
it
at the
used
Olympia.
to be. I thought because they're rebuilding Olympia. Maybe there's some of it that they haven't knocked down.
I don't know, but they're coming up tomorrow, and we're gonna go look around. And my mother went; she goes every year, and they absolutely love it. So my mum and dad, and their 2 friends, we're gonna wander around. She got me a free ticket, and I was like, "Well, it makes a change, doesn't it? Getting me a freebie."
Yeah, because they used to have it at Earl's Court, and then. Because I that's where I am we were in Earl's Court, but then they pulled Earl's Court down.
Yeah,
and there's a big empty space now because the people who were doing it ran out of money or something.
Oh God!
Which is it's so sad because that was a lovely old exhibition hall.
I was in King's Cross last night. You wouldn't reckon. I mean, I used to go to college there like 25 years ago, whatever. I didn't recognize the place. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
But they've done all restaurants and there's a theatre
there
there.
used to be a club that we would go to back in the early 2000s. It was an amazing club. It's now a lighting shop. It's a Tom Dixon lighting store. And I'm like, wow, if these walls could talk. Now it's a very expensive lighting shop.
I mean, they have to regenerate places.
Yes.
It's just
and they've done a good job.
the exhibition hall. It was such an iconic space.
Yeah.
And we all signed petitions, but quite honestly, when there's that much money involved, I don't think it makes any difference.
Same with Soho and Tottenham Court Road, that area. I mean, it's lost all of its history. It feels like there's nothing left, absolutely nothing.
I know, it's a shame. So you were in 1 or 2 of the Fast and Furious?
Well, I was the main bad guy in Fast and the Furious 6. Fast 6, it was called. And I was a British bad guy. It was very, very fun.
Isn't it more fun playing a bad guy?
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've played some very, very iconic ones, and I have a lot of fun doing it because I'm a nice guy in real life. But yeah, it was a great job. It was really fun to be part of it. Again, when I signed up to it, I know the franchise. Obviously, it's impossible to avoid it, but I didn't really understand the scope of the audience. How big it was.
Is it really, really huge?
It's absolutely massive. There's places where I go in the world, like South America and Asia and the Far East, where that's all they know me for is Owen Shaw from Fast and the Furious.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's extraordinary, yeah.
It's amazing how they can make films that actually translate all the way around the world, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's a lot to do with family, because they base the whole story. It's all about family. It's all about, the family that you choose and the family that their friends that become family and protecting them and all of that. So it has quite of a universal appeal when it comes to that kind of thing. And then obviously you've got these big fast cars, and as the show has got bigger and every episode of this franchise has grown, you've had submarines, spaceships, huge airplanes, and really crazy bad guys, so. Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, I think it's coming to an end, but, this will be the 10th.
There was a terrible, terrible tragedy with, was it Paul Walker? He died in a car crash. Ironically, he died in a car crash.
Yeah, it was such a sad story.
Yeah, really sad.
And a really lovely guy. Really, really lovely.
Yeah, everyone said that.
Yeah, sweet man. But yeah, it was just an awful, tragic thing that happened. And it left a big mark on everybody that was part of the film.
I bet it did, absolutely.
Yeah. But I think the way they honoured him in the episode that came after he died was just beautifully done. There was a beautiful song at the end of the film, and the 2 cars, one with Vin and one with Paul in, and they separated on this long road in the countryside, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house, so. It was a very fun thing to be a part of. I mean, I am still alive. You never know. Maybe if they do Fast 11, I'll come back. But, I now have a brother. I have a sister. I have a mother. Helen Mirren plays my mother. So, the family, the Shaw family, went from little old me to quite a large, substantial threat to this family.
I'm going to wrap up now because I know you've got to go. But I just want to say, the reason I met Amy Wadge, the songwriter, was because I fell passionately in love with Keeping Faith that she wrote the songs for. And Faith's song is one of my favourite songs ever, and you've recorded it.
I have,
and it's gorgeous. So again, everyone out there, please go online and hear Luke singing Faith's song. Isn't it a great song?
Beautiful. I mean,
I think
she's just such an incredible songwriter. Yeah, incredible.
She amazes me. Anyway, it's been an absolute joy. I could have chatted for ages.
Yeah, we could have, yeah.
But hopefully when Amy's around, because she broke her ankle,
She did skiing.
I know. Actually, she wasn't skiing. She was walking down the road.
Yeah, she should have kept that part of the story back.
Yeah, she should have made it up. Oh, I was coming down this really steep slope.
Yeah, well, when we're all in the same town, we should all have a dinner.
Yeah,
I would love to see that.
I think she's in America at the moment, but it'd be lovely to meet you properly. And thank you again. It's been an absolute joy.
My absolute pleasure.
And I love the album. Everyone go and get it, please.
Thank you, Twiggy.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was so lovely to meet up with Luke, even though it was only virtually. And don't forget to get his album. It's called A Song for You, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's lots of songs that you'll know, and a couple of new songs that he wrote with our mutual friend Amy Wadge, the brilliant Amy Wadge. And there's some lovely duets, one with Nicole Kidman that is gorgeous, called Say Something. I think you'll enjoy it. But what a lovely man. I mean, so nice. Speaking of the lovely Amy, you can still find the podcast I did with her about a year ago, and it was fun. It was our first time of meeting. We've now become really good friends, which is lovely. And also Bobby Cannavale, who I've just talked to Luke about. Bobby chatted to me again probably about a year ago, so please look them up and enjoy them. We had a fun chat. He's great. Anyway, I'm going to go now and have a cup of tea. See you soon. Bye. If this is your first time listening to Tea with Twiggy, please do remember to tell your friends. You can also subscribe for free on your podcast app and listen to all my previous guests. If you want to connect with me, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on Twitter @Twiggy, or you can find me on Instagram @TwiggyLawson. My thanks go to all the people that have helped this podcast happen. Many thanks to James Carroll and all the team at North Bank Talent Management. Thanks to all the team at Stripped Media, including Ben Williams, who edits the show, my producer Kobe Omanaka, and executive producers Tom Wally and Dave Corkery. The music you can hear now is my version of Waterloo Sunset by the Kinks. If you'd like to hear the whole song, you can find it and all the other songs I've recorded on iTunes and Spotify, so check it out. I look forward to you joining me for my next episode. So see you then. Bye.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.